We have with us Prashant Pandey now, Chief Executive Officer of ENIL, and the Indian Union Cabinet is set to clear the third phase of FM expansion. Prashant, morning. Good to have you on ET Now. Thank you for joining us. How will that change life for ENIL if the Union Cabinet approves the third phase of FM expansion?
I think it's going to be a very important decision that the government or the cabinet takes today. There's been a huge policy freeze, and with respect to the radio industry, the third phase policy has been on the anvil for like many months and quarters now. So I think there's a need to have the policy announcement quickly so that the expansion of the radio industry can happen. There's also need for the cabinet to consider a few points that the radio industry has raised with respect to the policy itself. So we are hoping that there'll be a good discussion on that. A good policy will be announced today.
Prashant, how many licenses would you individually be bidding for?
It's still too early because I think bidding will be at least about 6 months away or thereabouts. But we have a fairly good idea about it. I don't have a specific number, but if the policy is good, then, we would look at maybe doubling our network or going beyond that. And look at profitable stations, look at viable stations and entire states. So I think it will mean very good for all broadcasters, including ENIL.
Prashant, the problem for radio industry is still the licensing fee, and it appears to me that no clarity still has surfaced up on that.
Well, that's what we are hoping for in terms of the policy today. See, there are many policy restrictions that are there on radio industry which are truly only to the radio industry. These restrictions don't apply to any other media segment or in fact to most other industry segments. So we are hoping for a huge relaxation in terms of policy, which will grow the industry. There is nothing else that is there over here, really. So I think that's the reason why the policy is so important.
So where do you see the final licensing fee settling then?
The way the licensing has always happened in the radio industry is that there's always been an auction process. The first auction was in 2000, the second auction was in 2006, and this auction will hopefully now happen in 2011. So the method of deciding license fees in radio, unlike in telecom, has always been on the basis of auction. What we are talking about is a method of auction which is appropriate for the media industry. It is our opinion as an industry that rather than e-auctions, a method that was followed by the telecom sector, we need an auction which is a tender kind of auction, where every player bids for the auction in one step, and then the licensees are decided and the winners are decided.
Prashant, are you sufficiently funded for this bidding process?
Well, at this point in time, this is what our plans look like. We are sufficiently funded. However, if the policy allows for certain other corporate actions to happen, and if that creates a need for more funding, then yes, we have plans to do that as well.
And what instrument would you be using to raise those funds?
Oh, actually all the instruments would be open at this point in time. We have a promoter group which is very interested in continuing and growing the radio business, so we would have access to equity and debt both from the parent company. But apart from that, we would be happy to raise capital from the market, raise debt from the market. The promoter group would be happy to retain its shareholding, but if required, they would also be happy to come down a few percentage points if required.
But is the radio business now getting extremely competitive?
Actually, it's not true. I mean, if you look at it, one looks at radio as being competitive because there are some 35, 40 broadcasters in the country. But if you were to look at it from a single city perspective, because radio is a city-centric medium, then really speaking, there are only about 4 or 5 serious players in every market. I mean, look at Bombay or look at Delhi. There are only about 6 or 7 broadcasters. Contrast this with either newspapers or out of home or television, and you find that actually radio has a long way to go before it can say that it has become truly competitive.